should have a common approach, and then that would help, because they're the ones that can actually they can make changes, whereas voluntary community sectors, you can't start telling them what to do if they're all independent companies. However, if TUSLA and the HSE, for example, or the direct state-run services and organisations, if they started saying, right, we're going to change everybody's title to social care worker, let's say, what would happen is you'd have a trickle-down effect, because they're funding all these voluntary and community sectors, and they could start in the commissioning environment, start saying, just to give you a heads up that in about 3 years, we want the work that's being done, we know that social care, we want to see the social care workers doing that work. They could start with the funding, they could use their influence to change. So in other words, they could say to Bernard, look, whatever, but we want those project workers now to be called social care workers, or else even project workers / social care. They could influence that and put that title in. They're not going to, of course, because the unions would never allow such a big change, even if it didn't mean anything except a name change of title, you know. And the other reason it won't happen is the government, this government could never be that organised to pull TUSLA and the HSE together, the Department of Children, Department of Environment, anybody that's employing anybody, like say Department of Environment, do they fund the local development partnerships like South Dublin County Partnership and all, and those partnerships also employ people that could be considered social care workers, the development workers, the big one in the community, like development workers, you know. So the point is, it's too big a job to pull all these different government organisations together to come up with a cohesive approach that could then trickle down. That's just impossible in a country like this.
Perfect.
Yeah. So, but I do think it would be good if there was more consistency with. Yeah.
So that was my next question. Do you think it's important that all social care workers are employed under the same title?
No, I don't think it should be under the same title. I think there should maybe be an umbrella, which is the social care umbrella, and then maybe within that there would be recognition of different grades. So social care workers who work primarily in preschools with not 5-year-olds, they have a right to be called child care workers or early years practitioners, you know. But maybe there could be something where they add the word social care worker in front of it. Social care worker -- early years practitioner, social care worker -- community development worker, social care worker -- project leader, you know, something like that.
So just having a recognition in the title somewhere that you are a social care worker.
Well, that the work is social care work,
Perfect, So I have 2 questions left then. What implications and challenges do you think might happen because of registration for social care workers?
Implications and challenges? People will be held more to account. Now, I suppose there's plenty of laws and procedures in place around the work anyway, but I don't know fully with Corey, but if they're held to account and they're found to have failed or whatever, they could lose their registration status and not be able to work. So that's a huge implication. So that's probably the biggest one. You can think about some of the scandals, and if people had been registered under a professional body, how they at the time, and if the rules were applied, they could have lost their ability to practice then, you know. But you see it with the Teachers' Council of Ireland, which I presume is the equivalent for teachers, and you see they're starting to take cases now against teachers, and teachers are putting up a strong defence, but teachers are starting to lose their licence or their registration status,
which is good. It's the way it should be, isn't it?
It's to keep kids safe, you know, and keep people professional. So if this helps to weed out bad apples or people who just don't meet the standard, who just don't give a shit, they're just in it. What I always hated when I was training and when I worked for over the last 25 years is I hate seeing the many people who sort of wander into social care as like, I was made redundant from my bricklayer job, sure, I'll go into social care. Now I've raised the kids and I think I'll go off and just be this, that, the other. It's a very casual look, and I think that degrades the value of the role. Now, I know people can't just walk into a job in TUSLA and stuff like that, but I just see it all the time. People who seem to think that this is sort of something they can wander into. You'd never see somebody saying, now I've raised the kids, I'm sure I think I'll go off now and become a dietitian. Because that's nobody would ever dream you can just walk in and be a dietitian. But there's a sense still possibly that people think you can just walk in and become a social care worker.
Easy work.
And you know, I think the colleges have a huge obligation to vet the people rather than just taking all comers in. They should be vetting, they should be interviewing them, and they should be vetting them, and they should be continuously assessing this person's fitness to practice in terms of their placements and stuff like that. Now I know it should be a learning process. If somebody doesn't do well in a placement, they should be supported and trained to become better, but it should become clear at some point whether somebody is just going through the motions if they're really fit.
Yeah.
College would say that's not our job, but it should be. They're the first stage of weeding out unsuitable people. So that's just my point. Corey then at the other end might be the system in place at the other end to continue to weed out unsuitable people.
That's a great point. Yeah, very good.
The first point has to be the college, like, you know, rather than just like there was a conversation I had in college where somebody said somebody who'd been accused of stealing was found guilty actually of stealing clients' money, somebody that they knew where they work, and lost their job. But this social care worker saying now they should be let back in, they've served their punishment, they've lost their job. And so the lecturer had a good go at them saying, yeah, but the professional standards, and they were talking about it, but the personal training sort of I think they're a very religious person. They were saying, yeah, but we should forgive them. And it made me think, yeah, like there's one review that says no, kick them out forever. Yeah. Like stealing from a client and everything that's wrong with that. Yeah. Kick them out forever. And then there's the other view, no, forgive them and give them another chance. You know. But the point is, when Koru comes in,
there won't be second chances.
No, it would be, you know, how many breaches of Koru standards would there be there in relation to that. But until such time as Koru comes in, you'll still have people being unclear about maybe what's right and what's not right, you know.
It's very difficult, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then lastly, what effect might registration have on services?
Well, I presume service users and families would have to be made aware that we all work to these standards. Like at the moment, when we meet with parents and children, we start working with them, we make them very aware of our comments and complaints procedure, we make them aware of their rights and their responsibilities. So I suppose we would add this in as this is another right, that these are the standards we work under, you have a right to experience that, and if you feel that we're slipping below the standards, we'll have to enable them to be able to go forward and challenge that, like, you know. So that'd be one outcome. The other one is would it affect the service? Yeah, I suppose we would have to ensure that the training we provide and the opportunities for CPD would have to broaden out, you know. So for example, if the college took the initiative to run refresher training in theories of child development, or, you know, whatever it is, sort of community development principles, we would have to probably support staff and encourage them to go forward for that CPD. Does that mean giving them time off work? Does it mean paying towards it? I know with social work registration, a couple of years ago, Bernarda sent something around and said for social workers who wish to be registered as social workers and continue, it's your own obligation to keep up your practice hours. It's your own obligation to pay for it. Bernarda doesn't have any obligation because they're not employed as social workers. Okay. So they were very clear about that. So therefore, Bernarda's working paying for training or the registration fees or anything like that. It'll probably be the same for social care workers. It'll be the individual's responsibility. It'll change the service if people start having to leave because they don't have the training or they don't agree with Koru, or it'll change the service if people are going out on training and stuff like that. Yeah. But other than that, I think the positive side of it would be it would remind people about the professional standards, why they're here. It would enable a conversation about why we're here, and that once you get your degree and you go off to work, you don't forget the degree then. You know, it actually remains
carry
valid.
It on.
Yeah, it's a live practice. Like dietitians can't just forget, and OTs and physios, they can't just forget their training. They employ it every day. Be reminded for social care workers, no, these are the things you're expected to know and do every day. Yeah. That might be this implication. It would create more talk about standards and things like that.
That's brilliant. Really. Right, thanks so much. Sorry you took so long. Much longer than what